Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Morgan You Know podcast, a conversation show about sports and sports entertainment. My name is Rod Morgan. I will serve as your host this evening. Thank you very much for spending some of your time with us, whether that be live right now with us on Thursday evening on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook. You can join us there live. You can find us after recording date, and we appreciate that on all of your podcast platforms, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, whatever you need. Just make sure you follow us. Give us a like, give us a follow. I guess I already said follow. I'm not sure what other podcast platforms do. I'm a Spotify guy. Our executive producer, co-host of this show, he might have a more smoother way to tell you all the different ways you can digest this show, and his name is Jimmy Jamriska. Jimmy, hello.
Well, I know that we are experts, as all of our followers have definitely said, especially about the NFL and the Jacksonville Jaguars receiving core. I will tell you that we are experts at everything, Rod.
We definitely are. That's
And
how
of
we
course
that's how we broadcast ourselves. That's what we say when we first come into the show. That's how I introduce every one of you guys at the top. We are certainly portraying ourselves as experts, that everyone should take all of our opinions as 100% fact and can never be wrong. You're absolutely right there, Jimmy. Somebody who does carry himself that way because he has many years of wisdom, many chances at the takes, as it will, right? Like, it's kind of the whole thing that if you say something and you live long enough, you may come around to be right. And our guy who has that come true for him quite often is Chris King. Chris, hello.
On a long enough timeline, the possibility of everything happening is a certainty, Rod. And I'm glad to be back. I was in Ohio last week. I was doing some classes, teaching some people how to disassemble 3.5-inch hollow steel tubes. That is something that a lot of people are trying to learn how to do this year. I will tell you guys, if you are trying to disassemble those metal tubes, you need a DeWalt 7.5-inch power saw, preferably with a blade that has a diamond tip.
You heard it here. DeWalt, get at us. New advertising platform here, a local conversation show about wrestling and football. You're learning about pipes as well. That's what our guy Chris King brings. You never know what kind of knowledge he has. The knowledge we know our football handicapper has is he's doing the work. He knows the offensive line. He knows the defensive line. He knows the new coordinators. He knows the new coaches. He knows the referees. He's our guy, Josh Williams. Josh, hello.
What's up, boys? We got 5 pretty good teams this week. ESPN looks like the Vegas is projecting all of them to win right about 10 games. So we know they all can't win exactly 10 games. So we got to try to figure out over-unders here.
We will get to our journey at sea, our NFL tiers preview soon. But if you're watching right now, you can see the whiteboard behind me. I am wearing a Diva hat right now. In lieu of the cold open question, we are going to speak a little bit about an American legend, the passing of an icon, the last of a kind, in my humble opinion, and we might get to that in the midst of this conversation. But Dolly Parton, news came down that she passed away the other day at 80. I mean, what is there to say about Dolly Parton, right? She's a musician. She's a philanthropist. She's a lover of children reading, right? The imagination library is absolutely huge. She's got a theme park. I got a Dollywood cup here behind me. I don't want to hog all the time up top here, but Jimmy, when you first heard about Dolly, what'd you think?
I thought of a lot of the people in my life who really think that she's their icon. Where Kevin Owens might be my icon, Dolly Parton would be theirs. And just that everyone loved her. I mean, it's really, hearing a lot of things this week, it's really her and Mr. Rogers that I think everyone is in sync with, that they were just two great people. The things that she did that we knew about were unbelievable. The things that she did that we didn't know about were even better. I mean, Eminem sent that letter out that she sent him just randomly, this week after she passed away. And the fact that she was all about the children, she knew where she came from, she knew how bad it was, and she didn't want people to suffer like that. That's awesome. And she's got a pretty good amusement park too. We've been there a few times.
Yeah, I that was my first thought, right? As I was like, how many people are going to be flooding to Dollywood, right? At least there's a space that exists where we can go and we can try to honor, right? We can try to cherish our memories that that Dolly made for us, right? Like I remember the movie 9 to 5, Jimmy. I remember that movie, right? Being on VHS that my parents watched, right? Like I remember Dolly Parton was always just like a famous guest, right? Like she was just on the Johnny Carson show that my parents were watching, or when I started watching Letterman, you'd always be excited when Dolly Parton was coming around. And the amount of different, like you said, Jim, television shows that she appeared on and artists that she played with over time. Our good buddy Corey Nance, who might be the one viewer that we have right now, it's either Corey or our guy Mark right now, sent us a great video of Dolly covering Shine by Collective Soul. And she loved all music. And Jimmy, I just think, I don't know that we'll ever see anybody in America ever again that was beloved the way Dolly Parton was. So I love that you pointed that out there. Williams, you're our football handicapper, but I understand you have a couple stats and figures about Dolly Parton on. Dolly Parton, the American icon. That's what I was trying to say, but I ran it together there.
Yeah, let me know if this is any good. 25 gold, platinum, or multi-platinum albums, 42 different top 10 albums, a record for any artist, any gender, any style of music. Dolly sold over 100 million albums. Is that good? Her songs have reached number one 26 times, most of any female artist. Her songs have hit the charts 110 times, 46 Grammy Award nominations, most of any female artist, 42 CMA Award nominations. She's been in the Country Music Hall of Fame for 25 years. One of the only people to have been nominated for an Emmy, a Tony, a Grammy, and an Academy Award. That might be the most impressive. Made her Grand Ole Opry debut 55 years ago. She's been married for over 50 years. She wrote over 3,000 songs. And like you guys said earlier, her Dollywood Foundation mailed over 100 million children's books. I mean, she touched everybody's lives.
Jimmy, you mentioned that Eminem letter that he published. I literally just saw the form letter that went out to every person when they graduated into kindergarten and then were removed from Dolly's Imagination Library. And like just that letter alone lets you know the depth of caring and feeling that Dolly had. It's like, congratulations, you're about to go off to school. That's so exciting. You're about to make wonderful memories. I just ask that you do one thing for me and remember to read. And you're just like, man, for someone to think about good in other people, just that's the loss I think I feel more than anything else than just the loss of Dolly Parton, Jimmy, is that I don't know how many more people we'll see going forward that have that kind of goodness in them.
And really it spanned every walk of life. I mean, there's 80-year-olds that love her, and there are 10-year-olds that love her. Just kind of depends on what you got. My kids, they're 13 and 16, and they know who she is, and they were affected by it. A piece of trivia Williams didn't have, and I'm not sure. How do you miss this, Williams? Dolly Parton starred in the movie that I went on my first movie date to, called Straight Talk, in 1992.
Nice.
I always remember that. I always remember that. With that, James Woods is in that with Dolly, and there's one part where they go in the back bedroom, and she supposedly takes her shirt off. He goes, "Oh my God!" And it's something that just is a great memory of mine.
Speaking of that, I believe her issue of Playboy sold quite a few copies. I'm not sure if it's the most selling Playboy of all time, but it's historical in one way that like she was the only person who was ever on the cover that didn't appear topless in the magazine, right? Something that she was never ever willing to do, but Playboy gave her a boatload of money and she was like, okay, I'll go on your magazine, but she still had her standards. And I think that is another reason why, Jimmy, like you said, she could spray to all walks of life. She seemed to be about something, right? And it wasn't just herself.
And I think Playboy did the old bait and switch with that. Everyone's like, "Ooh, she's on the cover. Let's go." And no, sorry.
They absolutely were not. Well, our guy Chris King seems to have maybe had some technical difficulties. I was going to be interested in hearing his thoughts about Dolly because he's been around with her longer than all the
entire
rest of
time
us.
she was alive.
Yeah.
Hey,
exactly.
Bad week, by the way. We don't want to shortchange everybody else. It was a bad week for really important actors and the like passing away. Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime and Winnie the Pooh characters, passed away, and then obviously Tim Curry passed away as well. Just it's been a tough year, very tough year.
Yeah, definitely tough year for a lot of reasons, but tough year on that front. They'll be doing the Time Warp this weekend at a lot of midnight showings. I'm sure the Rocky Horror Picture crowd will be out to honor Tim Curry that way. Clue, the movie. Shout out to Clue, the movie. He's great.
Love that movie.
Shout out to also National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1 Phenomenal performance by Tim Curry as the bad guy in that. Early Samuel L. Jackson, Emilio Estevez. Good one there, Jim. You ever see National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1?
Oh, yeah. Come on, please. I had nothing to do.
That's my guy. That's my guy. All right. Speaking of my guy, Josh Williams is our football handicapper. We have taken a journey at sea. We gave you the teams that are sending out an SOS to the 2027 quarterback. We gave you those teams. We gave you the poop deck teams, the teams that aren't necessarily sending out an SOS, but it's not really a place where you want to be on the poop deck. We gave you those teams already. We gave you the catamaran excursion teams, right? We gave those to you. They were some teams where maybe if things go absolutely perfectly, you can sneak your way into the back end of the playoffs, but ultimately you're just going to be on a journey that's not really going to pay off in the end. That's where we were with the catamaran excursion, the bad version. And now we are getting ever closer to the top tier. And I was going back and forth for not as long this week about what. Oh, wait a minute. I did forget about Below Deck, didn't I, Jimmy? Thank you. I love that we have the visual the component here now. The Below Deck teams we did last week. That's where you are a little bit better off than on a catamaran. You are rolling with the people. You're not on the top deck, but you're rolling with the people. That's what Below Deck was. And now this week, you're a little bit better than Below Deck. You've got yourself your own boat. Lovely. Look at me. I got my own boat out here. But you have yourself a cabin cruiser, okay? You don't have a yacht. You have what is called a cabin cruiser. You probably have a 20 to 25-foot boat. You've probably got a sleeping quarters. You probably got a little bit of kitchen galley, okay? But you're not a 30 to 40-foot yacht. You're not in Tuscany, okay? You're in Lake Michigan, or you're in the White River Reservoir in Indianapolis, or you're down somewhere in the big Cumberland River down in Jimmy's neck of the woods in Kentucky. You're not necessarily floating in the Amalfi Coast with George Clooney, right? Think of it this way, Jimmy Jam. I know you've seen Caddyshack. Judge Smales, awfully proud of himself, tells everybody to come out to the christening for his ship, right? He gets there. He's ready for the christening of his ship. He's all proud of himself. He's getting ready to christen his boat. And who rolls up behind him? Al Chervik, baby, in a much bigger boat. So think of it that way, Jim. This is, you got yourself a boat. A cabin cruiser is a very nice thing, better than what I have. But let's not forget, there's still a tier above.
Yeah, there is a tier above, but this is, again, like you said, for Kentucky Lake where I live, this is the boat. This is awesome. Okay, so these teams could actually win the Super Bowl if everything goes right. But one of these teams might grow 3 arms and stuff could go wrong. Who knows?
Exactly, right? We're not necessarily telling you that these teams are our Super Bowl picks. We haven't made any of our official picks, by the way. Those are coming up a couple of weeks from now, right before the season. But this is a team that if some things break right for them, they could get to the top. Chris, you are the ultimate judge of all of my creative endeavors. What do you think of cabin cruisers for this week's tier name?
It's real close, right? Because these teams have talent and high end talent, right? We know what they're capable of. Will we see it is whole nother ball game. So I like it, right? It's fun. This is good quality football, but it's not the best that's out there.
We will go over a few of those things as we go along. Williams, I'm even going to do something special this time. I've dictated who we started with each and every week. This week, I'm going to leave it up to you, my guy. You pick it. Which team are we talking about first from the Cabin Cruisers tier here on the Morgan podcast?
Half minus 140. So like I said, Vegas thinks KC's going to sit right at that 10-win mark. First upgrade. Out is Matt Nagy at OC. In is Eric Bieniemy back with the team. Yeah, in 2024, the Chiefs were top 10 in pre-snap motion rate. In 2025, they dropped to 25th in pre-snap motion rate. With Bieniemy from 2017 to 2022, the Chiefs were either first or second in points per game. In 2023 with Nagy, the Chiefs slipped a little bit to 9th. And then in 2024, still under Nagy, they dropped to 22nd. And then in 2025, you guessed it, still under Nagy, they dropped again to 23rd. Strength of schedule here for the Chiefs this year, 12th easiest, Net rest disadvantage tied for 18th at -2, so right about in the middle for both. Brandon Thorne's O-line rankings have the Chiefs top 8. Their top 4 picks in the draft, all on the defensive side of the ball, 2 corners and 2 on the defensive line. Positional spending, offense down 9 spots overall to 12th. O-line still spending at a top 3 rate. Wide receiver, though, at a bottom 3 rate, and tight end down 11 spots to 12th. D-line up 10 spots inside the top 10. Linebacker still top 5. Safety bottom 6. In 2025, Mahomes had a career worst completion rate, career worst accuracy rate, career worst sack per pressure rate, career worst touchdown rate, career worst third down conversion rate, and career worst completion rate over expected. So that's the main reason why they missed the playoffs last year. Sack margin -12, penalty margin -11. That's another 2 factors that led them to not get into the playoffs. And back in 2021, the Chiefs had the number 1 scoring offense in the first quarter. It's been a slow decline ever since dropping to number 28 last year. So they got off to slow starts last year and then could never come back. The Chiefs were also 1-6 in games where they trailed at halftime, which is not Mahomes-esque at all. They dropped from number 1 to number 24 in first half third down conversion rate from 2024 to 2025. And Mahomes is coming off a torn ACL and LCL. It'll be just about 9 months out from the surgery when the Chiefs suit up for week 1. How healthy will Mahomes look? Other than Mahomes, though, KC was relatively healthy last year. They signed Kenneth Walker. Last year, he was 3rd in rush rate of going 10-plus yards. Pacheco, on the other hand, was 40th, and Kareem Hunt was 49th in that same category. So a huge upgrade there. And how about this stat? Since 2022, 20-plus yard runs, 32 for Kenneth Walker on 821 attempts, 17 for all Chiefs running backs on 1,348 attempts. And so the Chiefs also had the number 1 field goal luck against them in 2025. They were probably overdue there with how fortunate they got a few years before that. Last thing, I think the NFL wants the Chiefs to make the playoffs because, Mahomes means ratings. But why do I say that? Well, when the schedule makers were putting the schedule together back in May, they weren't sure if Mahomes was going to be ready for week 1 with that ACL. So what did they do? They gave the Chiefs the earliest possible bye, which is week 5, and then they have them with the easiest schedule in the league the first 4 weeks of the season. That largely has to do with playing the Dolphins and the Raiders on the road in week 3 and week 4, more so than KC hosting Denver on Monday night of the opening weekend. But I think they want the Kansas City to jump out to an early good record here this year.
Yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs are definitely a marquee franchise. Travis Kelce's married to Taylor Swift now. I'm certain that a lot of TV executives are not going to be scoffing at the ability to put some of that on their television. Jimmy, we got Kenneth Walker coming in that Williams talked about there. We got Mahomes coming back from an injury, but I would sneaky tell you what I think is important for the Chiefs this year is the Eric Bieniemy factor. Not just because the offense is changing, but because Bieniemy's kind of bad cop, Jimmy. Andy Reid's everybody's lovable grandpa. Things got a little sloppy down there in Kansas City. Bieniemy comes back in. Familiar, right? So guys are going to let him bust their ass a little bit, and I think we're going to tighten the ship in Kansas City. I look for Bieniemy to turn that thing around in addition to Mahomes coming back and Walker being there.
So it'll be interesting to see what he took from Ben Johnson last year as the Bears running backs coach. Maybe he got a couple of ideas to kind of calm down a little bit, but still be intense, if that makes sense. Because Ben Johnson seems like a really intense psycho, but he's still okay to be around. Bieniemy, on the other hand, was just an intense psycho and everyone hated him. So hopefully he reels that in a little bit. But Kenneth Walker III, Chiefs fans, hey, welcome. As someone who has owned Kenny Walker a lot in fantasy, you're going to learn this real quick. Questionable will be next to his name every single week, including right now, by the way, because he does have an ankle issue. So you better watch that, especially with that offensive line, Rod, because the offensive line is mid to upper tier, but if they get hurt, if one person gets hurt, it's over.
Kenny to his friends, apparently, Chris. Jim talking there about Kenneth Walker down in Kansas City.
I think it's Sky Kenny Walker, I guess. Basketball, who knew?
Is Andy Reid on the hot seat if they don't get out to that early hot start? If they go into week 5, 2-2, do people start questioning Andy Reid, and can he still lead this team?
I'd imagine Andy Reid doesn't get fired, but I like where your head's at there, right? Do we get a campaign to try to convince Andy to step down? Maybe. I think you might be a little early, but I think the heat might be there for a step down Andy campaign, perhaps.
You get 5 years after a Super Bowl loss is what
Please.
is what my opinion is.
It's funny. All right,
it's-
Williams, who you got next?
I was going to say, pardon me, I was taking a little drink of a beverage there.
Yeah, let's go to the team who they lost to in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Let's go Philly. Over 10.5 is plus 110, under 10.5 minus 140. So it looks like it's a little bit juiced to the under 10.5 wins here. How about this stat right off the bat? You don't think O-lines are important? When Lane Johnson plays for the Eagles, they win 66% of their games. When he doesn't play, the Eagles lose 66% of their games. In 2024, Saquon led the league in yards before contact per carry. In 2025, Lane Johnson was banged up for a good amount of the season. The Eagles finished 23rd in that same category in 2025. Now, Sirianni headed into his sixth year already leading the Eagles. Sean Mannion, former Oregon State quarterback, if I'm not mistaken, is the new OC. Sirianni hired his buddy Kevin Petula to be the OC last year, and that turned out to be a bigger disaster than when Sirianni did the exact same thing in 2023 when he hired Brian Johnson to the same position. The offense in both of those years, absolutely pitiful. Jalen Hurts last year had his lowest design run rate of his career. When Hurts has 10 or more carries in a game, the Eagles are 29-8 with 10 straight wins. Hurts EPA per dropback when he doesn't run or scramble, 18th in the league. Hurts EPA per dropback when Hurts does run or scrambles, 5th in the league, which makes sense. When Hurts isn't running, he feels about like the 18th best quarterback. And when he is running, he feels like a top 5 quarterback. So that's about right there. Fangio still at DC, entering his third year. Not very many people remember, but in 2023, the Eagles defense ranked 31st overall, 31st in success rate allowed, and 30th in EPA per play. Fangio has done a great job with his team since stepping in. And someone finally repeated in this NFC East as division winners last year. Last time it happened, the Eagles themselves did it in 03 and 04. The Eagles finally did it again last year. Positional spending. This might be the most wild breakdown of a team yet, and I did not expect this. Overall offense up 8 spots inside the top 5. Is O-line, running back, wide receiver, and tight end all in the top 10. So they're spending a ton on offense in Philly. Now on defense is where it gets peculiar because this defense is awesome. Overall defensive spending for the team that won the Super Bowl less than 2 years ago, dead last. How about the D-line? Dead last. How about safety? Dead last. I would have never have guessed that. Linebacker and cornerback, both bottom 10. So they're not spending hardly any money on defense here. Sack margin was +7. Penalty margin was -26. They had all kinds of problems with penalties last year, specifically the defense. The strength of schedule this year, 8th easiest. Net rest disadvantage, though, next to last at -15. Chris has got to love that stat as a Cowboys fan. Cowboys top 3 in net rest advantage. Eagles, kind of a boring team. Maybe the NFL doesn't want the Eagles to get in the playoffs. -15 net rest disadvantage. And some reasons for concern next year. Philly was first in red zone touchdown percentage last year at over 70%. They were only 13th in 2024. And this was a very healthy team last year, especially on offense. Top 6 in quarterback, running back, and wide receiver health. That may switch next year. And think about this. The Eagles had all that trouble on offense last year while playing the 4th easiest schedule of defenses, including the number 1 easiest schedule of run defenses. They also ran good in close situations. They were 8-4 in one-score games.
Eagles looking for a little bit of a Ewing theory, to borrow my guy Bill Simmons's pet theory here, where getting rid of A.J. Brown is going to hopefully float all boats. I'm sick of Philadelphia, right? Like, I don't know that I've recalled a fan base that hates their quarterback as much as the Eagles do. That's also good, right, Jimmy? Like, certainly there's been a lot of fan bases that have been terrible that have hated their quarterback, but like, Philly hates Jalen Hurts, and all he's done is won a Super Bowl for him, got him to another one, been in NFC championship games, winning divisions. Like, their coach seems to be a bit of a joke. Like, the fans, I kind of hope it all goes up bad for Philadelphia this year, Jimmy, I got to say.
Well, that's not really nice. I think it really does boil down to what Williams said. It's Sean Mannion. I want the Eagles and Jalen Hurts to come out, do a play action bomb to Devonta Smith just to throw it down the field the first play and really open it up a little bit because they were boring last year. They really didn't do much with the receivers at all. And it's just something that needs to change because they're not going to go anywhere with that. That also then opens up Saquon Barkley to have a better year because people will be worried about the deep, intermediate to deep pass. It really does boil down to that. But Rod, I kind of agree with you. The Eagles, I'm kind of over it how they are now.
Goodness gracious. I'm sick of the Eagles. Chris, I know that the Eagles are certainly not near and dear to your heart for any reason. So what are your thoughts about your Cowboys' possible chief rival?
Right, like we talked about it a little bit last year. There was strife in the locker room. We didn't know how Hurts was going to react with the coaches or the rest of the team. I don't know if we ever heard anything get resolved in that aspect, right? Yes, they won the division, so people think it's good. I don't know, right? I don't know if Hurts has the team behind him. He doesn't have the city behind him, all right? I mean, they might as well be Browns fans with their quarterback. So I don't know. I know I'm a Philly hater, and I'll get this. I am jealous of what Philadelphia's been able to do with their defense, right? They went out, they built that defense through the draft. It's so cheap because they're all mostly on their rookie contract still. So that's why they don't have to spend anything. But they went out and got just about every great SEC defensive player of the last 3 years. So I'm a little bit jealous of the defense, but I don't think the offense is going to get it done.
I love two things that you said there, Chris. First, Howie Roseman does get labeled as a genius when really all he does is like, oh, this guy played defense in the SEC for Georgia or Alabama. Let me have him, right? I'm not sure how much credit we should give him for doing that, but hey, other teams aren't doing it, so I guess hooray for him. And Chris, you said the word cheap there, that the Eagles are getting all their defensive players for cheap. A team that used to be accused of being cheap, but I guess is finally spending money. They traded a draft pick to bring a guy in to bolster their defense. Chris loves Joe Burrow. Williams, what say you about them Bengals this year?
Yeah, Cincinnati over 9.5, minus 170, under 10.5, minus 140. So they think they're going to fit right in that 10-win spot there. Strength of schedule, second easiest. Net rest disadvantage, 10th worst at minus 4 days of disadvantage. Brandon Thorne's O-line rankings 15th, which is a huge improvement from what Cincinnati has usually been, is usually bottom 5. Zach Taylor enters his 8th year, while the other 3 AFC North teams all got new head coaches. Absolutely wild. The Bengals allowed at least 27 points and 350 yards in 8 consecutive games last season. First time in NFL history that happened. What else was historic? How about the offense scoring 37 points in back-to-back games during the season and them still losing both of those games? That was the first time in NFL history for that. The defense was bottom 5 in yards per play, yards per game, yards per drive, yards per rush, yards per pass, points per game, EPA per pass, EPA per rush, EPA per play, and success rate. Is that bad? Positional spending, no surprise. Top 2 overall on offense, including number 1 at both quarterback and wide receiver, but O-line 25th. So they're still not really spending all that much on the offensive line. Defensively, overall, bottom 10, and at linebacker specifically, they are bottom 3, D-line and safety, middle of the pack at 15th. But since 2021, the Bengals run game ranked number 30 in success rate and number 31 in yards per carry. The Bengals D ranked 30th in yards per play and 28th in success rate. And how about the O-line pass block win rate the last 4 years? 30th, 27th, and 32nd. I remind people out there are only 32 teams in the league. Absolutely pathetic by this organization to have that bad at O-line 4 years in a row with this good of quarterback. Burrow has been blitzed at the lowest rate of any quarterback over the last 4 years, but no quarterback has been hit by defenders more quickly than Burrow. He's been quick hit, which is a hit under 2.5 seconds, 25% more than the number 2 most hit quarterback in the league. When Burrow is upright, he holds the highest career completion percentage in NFL history. So they just got to keep him upright. On the other side of the ball, the Bengals were dead last in yards allowed per play. Some key points to think about. Burrow was 4th in touchdown rate last season. The Bengals still went 5-3 behind that O-line. They played the 20th easiest schedule last year. This season, they'll play the 2nd easiest based off of Vegas win totals. The top 5 guys they added to this year's team, their first 2 draft picks plus their 3 free agents, all on the defensive side of the ball, which they had to bring in Dexter Lawrence from the Giants. So since 2022, Lawrence is number one with 108 quarterback pressures from the nose tackle position. That is number one by a mile. Number two on that list is our boy Vita Vea from Tampa Bay, but he only has 32. So that's a crazy wide gap there for Lawrence. And when Lawrence was on the field last year for the G-Men, they were top 10 in fewest yards per attempt, pass success rate, EPA per pass, and sack rate. So that's pretty impressive there by Dexter Lawrence. The running back health last year, number one for Cincinnati. Chase Brown is good at avoiding negative plays, but only ranks 29th in the rate of gaining 15 yards or more, so lacks explosiveness there. Last thing, they had the third worst mark with EPA last year from turnovers. They were bottom 4 in EPA on third downs and field goal range, turnover potential touchdowns into field goal attempts. So, yeah, Cincinnati, can they win double-digit games this year?
Chris, has Williams been hollering about Zach Taylor for 8 full years now, or did he give Zach Taylor a break for the first year? And Jimmy, while Chris and I are talking, look up how many years Marvin Lewis was the coach of the Bengals, because I think that might have something more to do with why Zach Taylor's been there for 8 years than how good he is. Chris, what are your thoughts?
Right? No, I guess it has been that long. Wow. This is what I'm going to say about Cincinnati, right? Like, I'm glad they went out and addressed the defense, because the only team that had a worse defense, I think, was Dallas last year. And that really makes me sad, right? Because I love defense. You guys know that. And my two of my favorite teams just suck at defense. Like, please just get a little bit better. Please, a little bit better. And then on offense, just if you can find an extra second to give Joey Burr, that 3.5 seconds, I think you're going to see a world of difference to an already elite offense.
Listen, I'm hoping from your lips to God's ears on that one. Joey Burr's my fantasy quarterback. Jimmy, do you got the Marvin Lewis stats for us?
Well, hey, Rod, so Zach Taylor's going into his 8th season, right? Williams, what if I told you could have double Zach Taylor, and that would be Marvin Lewis? How about 16 years of Zach Taylor?
Whoa.
He was coach from 2003 to 2018.
Wow.
What? I guess we know what Zach Taylor has ahead of him. Job security there in Cincinnati. But Jimmy, I'm high on Burrow. He's my fantasy quarterback. I like Chase Brown. I mean, I just gave it away to some of the guys who are in my league right here, but I like Chase Brown over some of the more higher named running backs. Like, what do you think about that Bengals, Jimmy Jam?
First of all, Marvin Lewis was coach before the iPhone came out, like 3 years before the iPhone came out. Actually, 4 years before the iPhone came out. Just throwing that up. It all boils down to offensive line, like Chris said, but defense as well. They couldn't stop anybody. The fact they gave up that game to the Bears last year, and I, again, just because I watched every single second, my heart died 3 or 4 times, was pathetic. And I don't know if Dexter Lawrence by himself is gonna save that. So I'm really interested to see what happens with their defense, because they might have to, Williams, score 40 points a game, and they still may not win like they did last year.
Yeah, that's true. It's gonna be another exciting year in Cincinnati. I think they know that they need to get off to a quick start, though. No more of these 2-5 starts, Zach Taylor. Come on.
Well, is that why the NFL gave them an early week 6 bye then, in case they do get off to that slow start, they can get a break in there and reset?
Yeah, I think so, man. I think you're going to see a few Cincinnati games flexed late in the year with how exciting this offense is going to be.
Is Williams tipping his hand for the Wins League draft that will be coming in a couple of weeks? He hates it when he tips his hand. Look at that little sly smile down there if you're watching on video. All right, we have Williams' other sainted, anointed Jedi that we could talk about here. We have Williams and Jimmy's anti, right? Their nemesis, their villain, I'm not good with comic books, Jim. I was trying to go for a DC villain or a Marvel villain, and I couldn't pull either one there. Give me somebody. Who are the Packers to your Bears?
They would be the Thanos. They could just snap their fingers and destroy all of us and just let us disappear. I mean, it really is that bad for the Bears.
You're not wrong about that. So you know what? I like that. Thanos. Let's snap our fingers and talk about the Packers. Williams, what do you got for us?
Yeah, Pack over 10.5 plus 130, under 9.5 plus 110. So once again, right in that 10-win mark area. Strength of schedule, 9th toughest schedule for the Packers this year. Net rest disadvantage tied for 18th at a -2 disadvantage. Last year, sack margin +7, penalty margin -6. They do bring in a new DC, former Zona head coach, Jonathan Gannon. Their top 3 free agents and top 3 picks in the draft, all defensive players, similar to Cincinnati, including defensive tackle Javon Hargrave and linebacker Zaire Franklin in free agency. In 2025, the Pack wide receiver core ranked 26th in player health. Their tight end core ranked 25th in player health. Jaden Reed missed 10-plus games. Tucker Kraft missed double digits himself. Negative regression coming possibly in the following stats. The NFL average for third down conversion rate on offense is 39.5%. The Pack ranked second in the league at 48.8%. The Pack ranked 29th in pressure rate allowed. They lose their left tackle, Rasheed Walker, to the Panthers. Their center, Elgin Jenkins, went to the Browns. And Brandon Thorne ranks this O-line bottom 5 in the league, which is for a far departure from what we're used to with this Packers, the past Packers offensive lines.
Hold on one second.
Yeah.
You're a college football guy, all right? Wisconsin, known for their line. Is it possible that the Wisconsin Badgers have a better line than the Green Bay Packers? Is it possible?
Oh man, it's possibly. You know, the Wisconsin's first game of the year is in Lambeau Field against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. We'll see if they can move the ball against them Irish this year.
I'll be able to decide for myself after week 1, won't I?
Yes, you will.
The Badgers do not have a good offensive line. I'll just let you guys know now. They do not have a good offensive line.
I think Notre Dame's favored by like 20 in Lambeau, so that's a good week 1 game for Notre Dame to get off to a hot start here. But back to the Packers. The offense should score more points with a healthy Watson, Reed, and Kraft. They were 8th in points per drive, 7th in success rate, and 4th in EPA per play, but only 16th in points per game at 23rd. All right, 23 points per game. But that O-line was 30th out of 32 in player health. Would imagine that gets better for them this year. But I've been saying it for years. This team stinks. Like PU stinks on special teams. Like, remember the playoff games where the block punt against San Francisco? They lost that game at home. They missed they were beating the Bears 21-3 in the playoff game last year. They missed the field goal to go up by 3 touchdowns right before the half. Pack were bottom 10 in field goal percentage and bottom 6 in extra point success rate. They drafted this kid, Trey Smack, in the 6th round out of Florida. This kid has a monster leg on him. He hit 10 of 13 50-yard field goals in his collegiate career. He smacked one straight through the uprights for 59 yards in preseason game last week. I'm sure Cowboy Derek is happy about that, possibly getting a good kicker finally for the Packers. But with all the injuries to the pass catchers last season, Jordan Love was still number 2 in EPA per play. So when I dug in more, Jordan Love saved this team last year. So positional spending, offense up 6 spots to 14th, but O-line is down 6 spots to 21st. Running back, they stay in the top 5. Wide receiver and tight end both bottom 3rd of the league. Overall defense down 5 spots to 15th. Linebacker up 9 spots to 11th. Defensive line, cornerback, and safety all middle of the pack. Like I said, Pack blew a 21-3 halftime lead over the Bears in the playoffs, dropping LaFleur's postseason record to 3-6. When you think about how Love was pressured on 40% of his dropbacks, a career high, he was hit on 14.5% of his dropbacks, a career high, and he was quick hit, which is a hit less than 2.5 seconds at a career high rate. Matter of fact, Love was quick hit more in 2025 than he was in 23 and 24 combined, and that was with a better O-line last year than what he is going to have this year. So you got to feel a little bit worried there if they're protecting Love. If you're a Green Bay fan, Love faced the 10th toughest schedule of opposing pass defenses in 2025, and yet he ranked number 1 in EPA when clean. Overall, he was number 1 in EPA versus man and number 4 in EPA versus zone. So they got to keep Jordan Love clean.
Okay, I got to ask you now, Williams. You said that they have a better offensive line last year than they did previously, but he got quick hit more. Is this because Love is making bad decisions pre-throw and getting himself into bad spots? Like, how is the offensive line better, but he's getting hit quicker?
Yeah, he was quick hit more in last year than he was in 23 and 24 combined. And so I was saying that this year coming up in 2026, the O-line is going to be even worse. So he might get quick hit even more.
Oof.
But yeah, I mean, when he gets the ball out quick, he's pretty damn good.
All right, so I got a couple things here quickly. First off, apparently in Green Bay, love is all you need. Thank you very much. I'm disparaged to hear that the special teams are not great because that's my guy. That's the pit boss, Richie Bisaccia. He was the special teams coach for the Packers the last couple of years. I'm really bummed out to hear that. And Chris, it seems to me anyway in the NFL these days, if you're an offensive coordinator who was a failed head coach, we're not expecting great things for you. But if you're a failed head coach who then becomes a defensive coordinator, you're probably going to light the world on fire because some of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL are fired head coaches. So things are going to look up for the Packers, I guess, right?
I mean, you definitely needed better defense in the second half of some games last year, right? So you're hoping that change works in your favor. I don't see Green Bay being better than they were last year, which means I don't know what to think of them, right? I think it's in the air. I haven't been a believer of Love since he came into the league. I know he's a capable quarterback, but I don't know if he's the guy to do it for Green Bay or to be able to lift them up past their other faults, right?
Love, lift us up where we belong. Chris says no. Jimmy, what say you?
Well, remember, Green Bay may have Thanos, but the Bears have the Iceman, so we'll be okay.
The Iceman.
Yeah,
Jimmy just playing with graphics. I was going to say, do you have any football thoughts, Jimmy, now that you're done playing with graphics?
Football thoughts. I think the Josh Jacobs story is fascinating because it's kind of gone from he's going to be out for the year with all his charges to he might only be out a couple games. Things just came down today as we're talking about this. So I think he'll be out for a couple games, most likely at the beginning of the season. Tucker Kraft is still not all the way back yet. He's still questionable and may or may not be there. And obviously you have Micah Parsons out. So I look for the Packers to maybe start off a little slow and then work their way back up. It's the Packers. They're always going to be around, Rod. They always are around, and it's really freaking annoying.
Yeah, they definitely are a picture of consistency most of the time up there in the North. So I look for them to be okay. And we have one more team who is already kind of a wasteland when you look at their injury report. Does it have to do with an electrical substation? I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, but our resident conspiracy theorist here may have a thing or two to say. But let's go to the football side first and our handicapper, Josh Williams.
Yeah, you guys are going to love this breakdown here. San Francisco over 9.5 minus 146, under 9.5 plus 120. So they think they're going to win right about 10 games. The chosen one enters his 10th season coaching San Francisco. They do bring in a new DC with Raheem Morris. But in 2022, Shanahan coached the 9th most injured team to a 13-4 record. He finished number 2 in Coach of the Year voting. In 2025, the Niners were the 5th most injured team in the league. Shanahan coached them to a 12-5 record. Did he win Coach of the Year? Hell no. Those bozos gave him less votes than in 2022. What makes this coaching run even more impressive is that he's doing this with absolutely no help from his GM, John Lynch. Remember that acronym I gave out during the Washington Commandos capsule that Chris loves so much, DCOE, draft capital over expectation. Washington was number 1 this year in the draft. They didn't reach on anybody. You know who came in dead last this year at the draft with DCOE, draft capital over expectation? It was the San Francisco 49ers. Well, then you guys say, Williams, why didn't you cut him a break? It's not like he's done this 4 years in a row. Let me remind you that in 2026, draft capped over expectation for the San Francisco 49ers, 32. In 2025, 31st. In 2024, 28th. And in 2023, 31st. Now just imagine what the chosen one could do if he actually got consistently good draft picks to work with each year. Or hell, every 2 years. Or while they're even yet, every 4 years. So absolutely insane what my guy has to go through year in and year out in San Francisco. And oh, by the way, in 2024, the Niners were the most injured team in the league. In 2025, they lost the 2nd most games to injury at the wide receiver position and the 3rd most games along the D line. So absolutely crazy how injured this team always is. Positional spending, they're up 18 spots to 5th overall on offense, up 14 spots to 15th at quarterback, up 18 spots on the O-line to a top 5 unit. Running back and wide receiver are both top 3rd in the league. Defensively, pretty much across the board, they are bottom 3rd in the league, except for at linebacker, where they are 2nd in the league after paying Fred Warner. 5 out of their top 6 free agents were on the offensive side of the ball. Evans, Christian Kirk, a couple left tackles. Their strength of schedule, 7th easiest. Net rest disadvantage, tied for 16th in the middle of the pack at 0. Brandon Thorne's O-line ranking 12th. Reasons for regression. The NFL average for wins when leading at halftime was a 762 winning percentage. The Niners had a 1,000 winning percentage when leading at the half. They were 11-0. They had the highest third down conversion rate in 2025 at almost 50%. The Niners were number one in opponent field goal percentage at only 66.7%, which helped them finish number two in field goal luck with an 8.58 net over expectation in field goals. Reason for positive regression, though, they can't be as injured as they were last year, can they? Question mark. The Niners were 26th in turnover margin, largely because they were 27th in interceptions thrown. They only came back from being down at halftime once last year. You got to think that reverses. A sack margin -7, penalty margin +24, third best in the league record in one-score games, 5-1 last season. And lastly, the Niners were number one in red zone offense in 2025. The Niners converted a whopping 58% of third downs while inside field goal range. They really missed Kittle last year. Team tight end Yak in 24 was number 2 in the league. Team tight end Yak in 2025 was number 26 in the league. Can these guys stay healthy, though? They already lost Ricky Pearsall for the year. Trent Williams is 38. Mike Evans is 33. Kittle's 33. Run CMC is 30. Christian Kirk's 30. Fred Warner's 30. Nick Bosa's 29. So can these guys stay healthy?
That's a wonderful question that people who are interested in breaking down the Niners football should absolutely ask themselves. The question I want to ask myself about George Kittle, and I don't know if anybody has an answer for me here or not, can we be done with those stupid Little Caesars George Kittle commercials where he rolls in on the deer and the kids playing video games or whatever, and then like mule deer or whatever, and he talks about the kid that he's a great gamer? Like, I don't want to see that anymore. And Jimmy, I think we absolutely need to own hashtag DCOE. All right. Draft capital over expectations. We should be putting a tweet out a week that has DCOE on it. Hashtag TMYK. This is Williams' thing, Jimmy.
It is. I mean, it's a terrific gimmick, and who else would come up with that but Williams? Rod, right now, of the offense, defense, and special teams, I see 14 questionables or outs among all their starters. What are you going to do? They can't be hurt anymore, Williams. Their coach got hurt before the season started. Very badly, might I add.
Who put a curse on this team? Is it the substation? Is it the substation?
Okay, now listen, as a Cowboys fan, I am not allowed to even sort of show interest into the 49ers at all. Listen, like they cost us over a decade of anguish and mediocrity. All right. So I have no love for San Francisco. However, all right, there are two things that I love about this team. One, that they are full of injuries, which can lead to something that's fantastic, and that could then ruin the DCOE that Williams likes to talk about. And if enough injuries happen on this team, we could see an all IU quarterback running back combination with Curtis Rourke and Kalen Black in the backfield. All right. And if this happens, and it's very possible with this team, I might have to root for San Francisco a little bit this year.
Love it that you related the Niners to the Hoosiers somehow. Chris, always continue to be you. I absolutely love that. And Jimmy, I don't possibly know what you could say after Chris's substation stuff there. I really thought he was going to go harder into the substation, didn't you?
I did too. Curtis Rourke's hurt too, Chris. So, I mean, that's another thing.
Yeah, but like there's other quarterbacks that have to get hurt before he's going to start anyway, so he has time to heal.
Well, plenty of those
You're
guys
right.
go out down in San Francisco. And I think, Jimmy, before we go away from San Francisco here, for some of our new listeners that just came in and they heard that breakdown from Williams, and they kind of picked up that breakdown was tinged to really help prop up a certain coach, I think they should know that our guy Josh Williams is a big hiker. He likes being out in the Colorado mountains. There was a time 11, 12 years ago where Williams was on a trail, made a bad step, started falling back. A guy reached his hand out, grabbed Williams, and saved him from falling over the side, and that man was none other than Kyle Shanahan. So that's why Williams has to speak so glowingly about him all the time, Jimmy, and I just thought I should give that context for our listeners.
That's a good call. Because people would why does he love him so much? And he's loved him everywhere he's gone. So I agree. Good job. Good call.
All right, Williams, we got one more tier next week. Are you excited to give us the final tier? Are you excited to finally make your picks, or are you now nervous that we're going to basically be trying to put you down on paper?
One, I love coaches who do more with less. That's why Shanahan is the best of all time. September 2nd, next week, we do the final 5 teams. And then September 8th, the Tuesday, is the Wins League Draft Pod, my favorite pod of the year. And that's even with all the pods that I listen to, this is my favorite pod of the year, Wins League Draft on the Morgan You Know. It's fantastic. Thank you guys for drafting with me for this will be the 3rd year. Very much look forward to it. And I can't wait. 5 more teams to go. And so hopefully you guys brought it with all these tiers names. So I'm sure next week's going to be awesome as well. So can't wait.
We are going to bring it too. We're going to beat you in the Wins League finally this year. I'm studying up. All right. I'm not just going to pick teams by the seat of my pants like I have in years past, Jimmy. I'm going to study, Jimmy. We're taking him down this year.
I have a ringer coming in to help me. We've already done some strategy because the Lord knows I can't pick anybody.
One of these years, the teams I actually like will win, and maybe I'll have a chance.
I might not take the first pick this year either.
Oh, that's true. You do get the choice. That's another part of our tradition, but you'll have to tune into that episode a couple of weeks from now. And if you're a big fan of wrestling, you don't have to go anywhere. Stick around with us now, and Jimmy's about to go over some of it with us on Yeah We Know.
Welcome to the Yeah We Know portion of the Morgan You Know podcast. Jimmy, Rod, and Chris are still here. We are talking WWE. And Rod, the 2 words that everyone loves in WWE right now are pew pew, Solo Sikoa, main eventer, Matrix guy, your boy. We gotta love Solo Sikoa.
I love Solo, as we talked about last week. I was one of the initial people starting up the Solo train. But the main reason I think we really need to be excited about it is I think there's been a theme kind of brewing under our last 7 or 8 shows, right, Jimmy? If you chuck it into using the parlance of the day, an AI, right? Like, let's say we could chop in our last 7 Morgan You Knows into an AI. It would come out with the theme. Some of the members of this podcast are getting a little sick of the same old people and same old storylines at the top. So now, while storylines, Chris, I'm sure you would probably still quibble with me that maybe the storyline is the same, but at least we are getting new blood at the top of the card. So that alone, we got to credit WWE for, right?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, Rod. And I got to be careful because you guys know I don't like the bloodline and I get tired of bloodline stories, right? But I also like a story about taking down the bloodline that involves 2 people I love to watch in the ring, and that's LA Knight and Solo Sikoa, right? So I have loved every minute of this so far, and I can't wait for more.
Yeah, it's really nice. And having LA Knight there to have someone to play off of, Rod, is working a lot better than I thought he even probably thinks it would.
Yeah, you know what I think it does for LA is I think it gives him a sense of calm, right? Because I think that you and I talked a little bit about it before, sometimes just between you and I think we brought it up on the show at least once, that he's so good, he's so charismatic, and he knows where he wants to get, but he gets there too quickly sometimes, and then he will fumble his words. And so I think knowing that Solo is there, Solo really is the king of, I'm going to let it marinate. I'm going to let it breathe, right? That's one of the things that he is the greatest at, other than mimicry and stealing people's gimmicks in a fun way. And so, yeah, the way they're playing back and forth with, no, I gave you 2. Stop it now. You know what I mean? Like, it's been really, really good. Fun to see out of both of them. And I think LA can come across a little bitchy at times, even though he's being charismatic and having great one-liners. And Solo takes that bitchiness away from him now. And so I really dig it.
I couldn't agree more with you. And I think that is, you're spot on with LA Knight calming down a little bit. And it's bringing out the best of both of them. And you really can't go wrong with that. Another thing that we loved was the Kevin Owens and CM Punk, I guess, underlying tension, if you will, turned out to be a really, really solid matchup with an ending that we all knew was going to happen. It sucks. But Chris, very interested. Did you care? Did you like this match, or do you just hate Phil so much that you're good?
I mean, I really don't like Phil. The match was good. I'm so happy to see KO back, right? I think WWE is more interesting when he's involved, all right? We can't deny that at all, right? So I think it was great. I definitely dislike the outcome. So that puts the whole match in a sour note to me because I don't want to see Phil with the belt. You know how I am.
Sure. I think that this match it's how it needed to end, just because that's where they're going. But Kevin Owens needs another championship run before it's all said and done, and this would have been a good opportunity for him to get that, and then Sami Zayn and him celebrate at the end, and then Sami turn on him at the end, kind of like Kevin Owens turned on Sami in NXT. Rod, I think that might have been a little bit better of a storyline, and then instead of just going back to bad Sami screwing over Kevin Owens.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think that everybody had that. Well, I'm not everybody, because, you and I are a little deeper in this than some other people are. But I think a lot of us had that in our mind for what I'm going to nominate, Jimmy. We've never had this as we know we category before, but we should consider it near fall of the year. Okay. Because before Sami actually turned on Kevin and you thought he was going to help KO win the belt, right? And he bashed Phil. I just called him Phil. Damn it, Chris. He got CM Punk with the belt, and then he threw the ref back in, and we had a 1-2, and then CM Punk got up just at the last second, and the ref still seemed awful woozy. Like, that was a near fall of the year right there. And I think the reason it was, Jimmy, is because of all of what you said. We're like, oh, Sami and KO, but look, Sami's actually going to help KO win. And then, of course, he's not, because Sami is fast becoming Gunther level heat.
Yeah, it is. And sorry for the fans. I did not get the sneeze pause in there, but I saw a reel on Instagram that had it 2.99. They timed it, and it was unbelievable. And that's when you have two really good guys who's been in there for decades, knowing what to do. And it was a good match. Both of them did great. And we're going to talk about what's going to happen this week, because it's already been taped, coming up soon. Chris, do you want to see more of this, or do we want to see CM Punk move on to something else?
I mean, what I want, Jimmy, is to see Phil lose the belt. And if that's somehow through this or him moving on to somebody else that we may see coming back who looks like a transformed person in some pictures that I saw. All right, let's do that too. I don't care, right? We're going to need to see something happen with Oba or Braun Breaker after that whole deal, so maybe they end up getting a run at that belt too. I don't know. I just want to see Phil lose the belt. I don't care who it is too.
So you want to see Bronson Reed coming back in his, I don't even know what to say, like
he's not
Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman type thing.
Listen, he's not wrong on that little thing. I'm a problem is what he said, and he's going to be a problem.
He took advantage of being out for a while, and we'll see what happens. I hope he comes back and succeeds, because Rod, whenever you have somebody new coming in who can work, it's pretty good. Rod doesn't buy it, even though he's muted.
You know what? That's good. I'm muted, because I misspoke there. I combined history and injury and said injury. I don't even know. Now I can't even pronounce the word that I mispronounced. Oh, my goodness. The thing with Bronson is he's got a bit of a track record of getting nicked up. Is it bad luck? Is it that he's prone to being injured? Who knows? But unfortunately, it becomes a bad thing when you're gaining that momentum, right? You're on the roller coaster, and the click, 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 click is going up, right? You want it to keep going up in professional wrestling until you take the dive that you want to take, not the dive that injury makes you take. And so we'll see if Bronson Reed is able to make a dive next time on his own, and not a dive that an injury forces him out to.
I mean, all he has to do is maybe cut out some of the cars that he crushes. I mean, I think he went through more cars than just about any other wrestler I've seen in history. So maybe stop doing that, Bronson, and you'll last a little bit longer.
So we talked about some new people coming in, and it looks like we have a new faction of the Mud debuted in WWE, and that's Royce Keys coming in with Bronco Nima and Lucien Price from NXT. Of the Mud basically just means that they came from nothing and doing everything themselves. I kind of liked where Royce Keys was going a little bit with LA Knight and Solo Sikoa, and kind of in that area a little bit, but then they brought him back, but now they have him in a faction. I'm okay with it now. Let's see where it goes, though, Rod.
I'm okay with the faction, right? Like, count me as a guy who was okay with AOP when they showed up with Karrion Kross, right? The Authors of Pain. I was about that life. Count me as somebody who was cool with the Nation of Domination for a while. Count me as somebody who liked the beginnings of the Judgment Day. I was all in for the Vision. Like, love me a faction. I'll continue to fight for the bloodline to this day. But what I was kind of bummed out was, like, okay, you need a faction. I get that you feel a little bit disrespected, but I feel like we can tell that story without him burying Solo and LA Knight. You know what I mean? Like, you've got a problem with Jimmy and Jay. I get that you want to be badasses and show everybody, watch out for us. But like, I just was kind of like, oh man, you got to bury Solo and LA too. And that just kind of bummed me out. So like, Chris, the fan in me that you're always talking about right there, that part just bummed me out. I was like, why'd they have to take out LA Knight and Solo? I liked Royce Keys.
Yeah, I don't know what they were trying to do. Like, and that was the thing, right? As a fan, you get confused sometimes when the WWE makes a move in a direction because, right, he had the issue with the Usos and the Bloodline, right? Not with Solo and LA. And so this that happened just came out of kind of nowhere. And yeah, so you didn't want to join LA and Solo. That's not a big deal. You don't have to hit them across the back and jump them at the same level. Like, they didn't do that to you. The Usos did.
Well, but then, okay, so let's say they don't jump LA Knight and Solo Sikoa. People would ask, well, why didn't you just join LA Knight and Solo Sikoa? They're a lot better than Out the Mud, right? Because
that's a good point,
more,
Jim. That's a good point.
So
and
I think that's kind of where they're going to go with that.
But I can buy that. Like, okay,
like badasses too. Don't get me wrong,
right? And be like, hey, these are my boys, right? These are my boys. They got my back. I trust them more than I trust LA and Solo. I can get behind that. That can make sense, but not to just be like, okay, these are my boys and screw you guys. I'm going to take you guys out too, even though you didn't do anything but try to help me get my own revenge.
So we had Stephanie Vaquer make her in-ring return after about 4 months away. Did fine, looked a little slow. Good match, though. Why was it a good match? Well, because you had two great wrestlers. You had Stephanie Vaquer and you had Roxanne Perez, who might be the most valuable, least winning MVP on the roster because she had a great match last week. She had a great match this week. She will continue to do good. I just don't see a push for her coming anytime soon, Rod, and it sucks because she's really good, and it's going to take her and Liv to have a falling out, but I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Yeah, they're definitely not ready to put Roxanne in any kind of position to be a solo star, right? Like, that's kind of how you need to think about it here, right? Liv Morgan can still be a solo star. They'll still allow her to go out to the ring and tell the girls from the Judgment Day, stay back there. I got to do this on my own. Or, you know, she's fine that way. Roxanne Perez is never going to be that. And I like that you brought that up about Roxanne, but I'll tell you something else, Jimmy. Stephanie Vaquer might be able to work, but I still just don't know where we go with it. I still just don't know if it's fully gonna land. I just worry that, like, the character she's given us right now, to me, it's got a real small shelf life, Chris. It's kind of like milk, right? Milk lasts on the store shelf for about 7 days. You know what I mean? But you go over to the club crackers aisle, right? And those club crackers, they'll last on the shelf for 3-4 months. You know what I mean? Because they're more packaged and ready to go. And I'm not sure that I'm fighting for respect, you should fear me. What is that character, Chris? That's what I worry about with Stephanie.
Right. And I'm like that too, right? I before she got injured, I thought she did great in the ring. She didn't look as great in this return. Like Jimmy said, I thought she was a little bit slow too. And I don't know, right? I'm not as worried or concerned about her character like I am some of the other people in the women's division, right? I'm more interested. And listen, I'm a big supporter of Roxanne. I hate the fact that you guys say that she's never going to get the push like a solo star. I hope she does one day. I'm going to nominate her again for Workhorse of the Year this year like we did last year. And I'm much more interested in her path in the WWE than I am Stephanie Vaquer.
Interesting. Okay. I think Stephanie needs to be brought down, beaten down, destroyed, and then really fight back as that underdog coming up. I think that might be a way to go with it.
Because, you know, we've seen that too much, because I agree with you with that. We've seen way too many times lately, especially where a new wrestler from an outside country, different promotion or something comes in and they get that immediate push, they get an immediate belt around them, and I don't care about it because I don't know who these people are really. I didn't see them earn anything. And I think that's a great point, Jimmy.
Man, I'm so proud of you, Chris. I think that's the first time ever you've taken the words right out of my mouth. I was going to literally say everything. By the way, never do that again. Never.
We even have a wrestler you can point to, Jimmy. We even have an example, Julia, right? Anybody care for Julia? Right? Big deal in New Japan Wrestling, right? Big deal in NXT. We're all excited about her coming up to WWE. She gets the United States Championship, and then nowhere. We're
Did she ever
absolutely
wrestle?
nowhere with
Yeah,
her.
exactly. Yeah. Speaking of two people who do wrestle from different countries and different promotion at one point, we have our number one contenders match for Roman Reigns World Championship. Out of nowhere, no one saw this coming. Penta against Phoenix. And it's going to be the Lucha Bros are going to just be amazing in this matchup, Chris.
There hasn't been a bad match that I watched in this tournament. All right, let's be honest. All these guys are top-notch ring workers and great. And I have learned some dudes that maybe get me more interested in watching some AAA content. All right, let's be real. And no, you guys call this a few weeks ago is going to be brothers? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that, it was going to be it just because it was going to be the best match leading into the world title match.
Let's also be real here. Let's be real. These are actual WWE superstars. Okay, they want to prop up AAA for sure, but these are WWE superstars that are about to go against Roman Reigns.
I mean, Penta is the biggest star in that whole tournament. Penta's going to beat Phoenix. I guarantee that. And he and Roman are going to have a fun match, and the crowd is going to go nuts. But yeah, I think that was a pretty easy guess there. I'm not going to take any credit for that one. I will take credit for knowing that Javon Evans was going to get just destroyed by Cass. Cass looks fine as a big guy. Chris, I'm interested to see your opinion on Cass.
So I was glad that I got to see a whole match with them. I got some of the backstory from the announcers right. Him coming back from whatever troubles he had and being this selfish guy now. Okay, I can get behind him as a heel. I understand it a little bit better. Screw him. I can't wait to see what he gets. But as a bad guy, he's going to keep on winning and getting what he wants until he gets to get against somebody bigger. So far, yeah, I still don't understand why he decided to go against Javon out of nowhere, unless he's just going to pick on guys smaller than him the whole time.
It's right out of the heel checklist, though, Chris. You know what I mean? Pick on guys a little smaller than you, tear up signs that kids hold. You know what I mean? Talk down the city that you're in. You know what I mean? These are all right out of the heel checklist. So good for Cass there. Jimmy, you talked a little bit about our fans out there, and we love the interaction. Continue, please, commenting on all of our social media stuff. That helps us gain a little bit of traction. And one thing, Jimmy, they actually didn't yell at us about, and they sort of agreed. People seem to be on board with me that Cass's finisher is just awkward and foolish looking, and that maybe we should cut that out. People seem to agree with me on that one.
I like it. Yeah, I don't know if you want to just go back to the big boot. That's kind of lame as well. So I think we have to figure out as the character melds into what it will be. So yeah, good call. Our fans really do appreciate that. We are on Instagram, we are on Twitch, we are on Facebook, and of course we are also on TikTok as well. TikTok, we get a lot of fun interactions, but Facebook has really been good too. So really appreciate that 30 and older group. Thanks everybody. That's awesome.
That's right.
So it seems like, okay, so right now the WWE is taking kind of a little break. They've given their wrestlers, they're not doing live SmackDowns and Raws for 2 weeks. They've taped them all. And that's because they're really going to a big Mexican tour coming up here very soon. So we have a taped SmackDown for tomorrow. It looks pretty good overall. Without any spoilers, Chris, Finn Balor versus Kevin Owens versus Gunther in a triple threat for the number one contender match. How excited are you for that one?
I think that's going to be a fun match. I think Gunther wins, right? Shouldn't Gunther win this? Or do we let KO win?
Give me the Prince.
How WWE does things, it's probably, well, I have an idea how it might end, but I think Kevin Owens might win just because that's how WWE does things, but I actually don't think that's how it's going to end.
Give me the Prince. Give me Finn Balor.
Okay.
Gunther's got plenty of things going on. Kevin Owens just came back. We all love Kevin Owens. The Prince, Finn Balor, needs this. Give it to him.
And then we have JC Jane and Paige are going to wrestle each other. So, that's something that we haven't really seen very much. So that's good. Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, promo off. We love promo offs, don't we, guys?
Cody's a lot better at promos than I used to give him credit for. So I'm actually looking forward to that because Randy is a seasoned veteran as well. So those two guys they'll be turning that story forward. It's rarely a wasted word out of the mouth of Cody Rhodes.
Chris?
Right. I'm just anxious to see them wrestle. That's what I want to see. I want to see Cody go down.
Friday.
I know. So I'm not as worried about the promo. I want to see the match. Can I just jump forward in time to the match?
And then, of course, we have the Irresistible Forces, Nia Jackson, Last Legend, against Tiffany Stratton and Chelsea Green, who's back, baby. Thank goodness.
She be wearing a mask? Is that how we're going to do this?
She's in a mask. And nice. I think there's an injury angle they do with her, but she's not really hurt.
That's good. Listen, any angle we do with Chelsea Green, I am pro. The turn Tiffany Stratton is kind of making away from being I'm bitchy. I think that the not being as bitchy serves her well. Her ring work seems to be improving a little bit too. So let's go. I'm for it.
I hope so. And with that, you've been listening to the Morgan You Know podcast. Chris, take us home.
Like, comment, and subscribe, people. Goodbye, Internet.
And if you're big AC/DC fans, like maybe you're going to the concert at Notre Dame Stadium coming on up September 4th, check out a little podcast Jimmy and I do called Rock Draft, available from Classic Rock 97.7 ZOW. We pick AC/DC songs. It's a rather fun podcast coming out for you on September 1st on Spotify and YouTube.
There might be a first-round pick that no one thought would get drafted, but hey, you know what? There's a lot of diversity on 97.7, and it's a pretty cool draft. I really enjoyed it. As someone who is not a big AC/DC person, I know shocking, Jimmy's not a big music guy. I thought it was pretty good, Rod.
Well, listen, Jimmy, we couldn't do it without your masterful work behind the scenes. All I do is gab and talk rock music. It's not a bad deal for me at all.